So let me get in. Let me get in the chat here, and I'm going to do this. Hello, everybody. This is the Pearl of Wisdom show. We're doing this live right now as we speak. We have Peyton the
Hmm.
Prize in here from Peyton on the Radio. You can go check his channel. He does a sports desk show that's going out tonight.
Hmm.
You want to check that out on the Steel Flyers and Steel Flyers Network. This is what we do 5 days a week from Monday to Friday, and it's Friday today. We're going to record this. We're making it a video for the next half hour. You're going to see the kind of content that you get when we do the show. It's a lot of fun. We were just talking about EICHEL, so we're going to continue talking about that and whatever else anybody wants to talk about in the chat. We also do sports pick. We do NHL picks, which we already did, and all of that sort of frolic. So here we go. Back to Eichel. I agree. We just talked about it now. I think LA is the most likely spot for him, and the more I look at it, I just can't see. We had one guy. Okay, LA has a young core coming up, so getting Jack Eichel at 10 million for 5 years. Okay, well they have a young core coming up, right? But of that young
Hmm.
core, um, let's just let's just dissect LA and where they are right now as a team. They've got
Yeah,
let's
they
go.
got so much like good talent there in LA too. That's the thing that like I wouldn't be saying that LA would be a like they're the reason why I'm saying that they're a prime spot is because they legit are. You could do a big trade with Buffalo, and they will still have prospects left over from that trade, right? You're going to be trading one of Byfield or Turcotte, and then you're still going to have one of those guys left. And then you still have Rasmus Kupara, Kaliyev, Madden, Fabio, Akil Thomas, Kale Clegg, Sean Dursey, who's been looking not that bad. The amount of prospects that this LA team has is nuts. And the amount of prospects that are already having NHL experience is nuts. If they get Jack Eichel, this team would be a step above. And they would be just a couple players away from being a real deadly team.
And like you said, they can add. They've got Jared Dolan Anderson as well, who I really like. He's only 21 years old.
Hmm.
Started putting up some points last year. The question is what are they going to lose in the package? I think Turcotte would definitely. I think they're going to hold on to Byfield tight. I think Turcotte might be a guy that they'd be looking at being able to let go of. He's going to be a two-way guy, probably like a middle number one center somewhere around there.
Hmm.
And they could afford to do that in this because they're getting Eichel. So down the road,
I would also add Velarde as well.
oh yeah,
Give Buffalo some NHL experience. Velarde would be perfect for that. You give him some NHL experience. I would maybe, I mean, probably not a Falio because he wasn't terribly bad, but maybe even if they need some more NHL experience, I would even throw in a Falio into the trade
oh yeah, I have
to maybe clear up some cap
I
space.
have follow. Yeah, I mean I'm not really. He'd be okay. He'd be kind of a throw in. Not to mention he's making 4 million. So
Hmm.
that's just more cap space for them to add a much more of a shooter. Because Alex Iafallo is not supposed to be a number one center.
No,
So all they
no,
really do then, if they do this trade, let's say you go Villard, like that's a lot of center depth you're losing, but uh,
you're getting
you're
Eichel,
getting
and you
Eichel.
still have. Well,
Turcotte
if you trade
Filardi,
away,
Turcotte Filardi,
yeah,
say go down and say Kaliev. I mean, Kaliev is
I,
probably their best
I,
winger
I think.
prospect, but
I think you would want to keep Kaliyev. Maybe trade away one of your defense prospects and then load up on first. Maybe even think about trading Rasmus Kupara as well.
yeah,
He's another centerman because they do have a lot of centermans. Like they have Tyler Madden, they got Rasmus Kupara. I would like to keep Kaliyev because he's a good shooter, and especially if he can play alongside a Jack Eichel, and he's an American, and if they could play on Olympic teams and just honestly form a bond, that would be something I would look for because they got a lot of good centermans coming up the future pipeline there for the LA Kings that I think they could just replenish it easily if they were able to do like one of these big trades like this.
well, I'd be cool with if I'm Buffalo. If you're gonna have Turcotte, I like Filardi a lot, by the way. I really do like Velarde. He had a down
Hmm.
year last year, but he's only 21, 6'2", 185. He can play the wing as well. I think he's a better winger. I don't know why they keep on playing him center, but you Turcotte, Velarde, and I don't know their defensive prospects. I'm not really sure about.
No.
Maybe Vladimir Ketchov or something like that. He's kind of small. Yeah, I would like a defensive prospect, but they're not super deep in that. Maybe a Dursey and then first round picks like this year, next year, first round picks. Nobody's going to beat that package. Is all I'm saying. They may not have
Hmm.
to give all that up because people have already bowed out before they have to give up the first. That really is probably the best package you're going to find. I've looked at this over and over again in other teams, and I just don't see any team coming up with that package. And they're
Could
still okay if they do
could
that
we
deal.
see the Vegas Golden Knights
Oh, I'm sure.
do
I'm sure they would be in
do
there.
something?
I'm sure they would be in there trying to do something.
Like, I think, of course, you'd have to trade away Tuck. You would also have to get rid of one of your goalies, maybe even one of your top guys. But you take away Riley Smith, Alex Tuck, because that'd make you have enough salary cap to kind of build up the rest of the team. Well, to pick up Jack Eichel, it wouldn't make sense for the Vegas Golden Knights. They would probably love to have Jack Eichel. They would love to have Jack Eichel. Just the money thing for them, I don't think would make sense. But they could trade away Krebs. They got Cody Glass. They got lots of first round picks and just draft picks in general. Vegas could be a team as well that could totally go after Jack
All
Eichel.
I know is if they were like, okay, let's say Buffalo is looking more about being relevant right now. That might be the team to look at, I
Yeah.
guess, because you could get some players that could play for you right now. Uh, I
Well,
would want
even
basically for
then,
me, I would want Alex Tuck back, and if you're not willing to give Alex Tuck back, then don't. I would probably hang up the
well,
phone.
here's my
I
thought
want Tuck
process
for
on
sure.
thinking if I were to pick up Riley Smith and help the Vegas Golden Knights clear some cap, I would be thinking of, okay, I could pick up Riley Smith here and Alex Tuck. And then I could flip Riley Smith because he only has 1 year left. Half retain that $2.5 million for Riley Smith to some other team would be a crazy good deal and would probably give you another first round pick to bolster up your squad. And then you also think about Tuck. 4.75 for Alex Tuck is a great deal. Great deal. And then you may be thinking about maybe later on flipping him for some picks. You could just mass populate on picks. You could get a ton of picks. You probably get 2 to 3 picks for the Eichel deal. And then once you trade away Smith and Tuck, you could probably get another first, maybe two firsts from both of them. That'd be crazy good if you were able to get that type of return. And especially if you were to have retained on Riley Smith's contract for that 1 year, that'd be really good, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. I still like the LA deal better, but
Oh, I still like the LA deal better. I think that benefits the Buffalo Sabres better for their future. With Vegas, it gives them a lot of picks that might not be as good as a Byfield or a Turcotte or a Velarde would be coming to your team.
yeah, but the first round picks for LA. If LA, I don't think I don't. I think part of the reason why a lot of some people say that LA would not be a good because they're young and all that stuff like that. I think a lot of people don't realize how like they're right on the cusp. They're right on the cusp right now. But also, how they will be if they got Eichel, they would be fan. I don't think people appreciate how good Eichel really is. That's
Hmm.
really what it comes down to.
No, no one does. No one really does know how good Jack Eichel is. He is a great player. He plays great defensively too. And that's the thing. This guy is a guy who could produce a lot of points for you, but is also a great two-way forward. He had a great season defensively this year before he got cut off with that huge injury. He wasn't finishing as well, but I mean, most of the team wasn't scoring. Look at what Taylor Hall did. Taylor Hall went from being a guy that everyone was hating to Boston, and he was playing great. Jack Eichel is a guy that was right behind McDavid, and people were highly talking about him and was talking about this guy fixing Buffalo.
Uh,
This is a guy that deserves 3 first round picks and practically your entire team to be traded for Jack
yeah,
Eichel because he is worth. that damn much. It is very hard to get that first overall selection and to get a type of player like Jack
Yeah.
Eichel. It is really hard to
This
do
is
that.
much more to do with the fact that Buffalo dropped the ball so hard with Eichel than
Hmm.
what he is as a player. I think honestly, if you put him on a really really good line, I would not be surprised if Eichel gets 120 points in the season. I would not be surprised at all. If you were to put him on
No.
with some super strong wingers, I wouldn't. I'd put him up there with McKinnon. He's more of a goal scorer, but he's a fantastic goal scorer. Like he carried that Buffalo team so many times, and they just had nothing. They had nothing. He had no support at all. All you had to do is take out Eichel, and you took out the Buffalo Sabres for years. I'm not surprised at all that he finally just said, "Yeah, I want out," and people I think are putting that on him to say that he's some sort of cancer in the room or something like that. I don't care. I don't know if it matters. I don't know who you are. I don't know if it matters who it would have been in the situation that he's in right now. That everything that's happened in that organization over time, that wouldn't be finally saying, you know what, I'm fed up.
Hmm. Yeah. It's time for, there's so many trades that can happen. It's even baffling me sometimes. I take a look at some of the trade requests sometimes, and you'll see like one first round pick and it's three bums from that team, and I'm like, how do you think this is worth Jack Eichel? I know you guys think he's a cancer and this and that, but Jack Eichel, he's in a place where they're losing a ton. I remember when the Edmonton Oilers were losing a ton, and I remember Taylor Hall is a cancer, Nuge is a cancer, Eberle's a cancer, just because we were losing a lot of games. And that will happen, especially with Buffalo, where the media is going to be a bit harder on Buffalo because they are legit a dumpster fire there. And yes, they might be a little bit hard on their superstar when it might not even be his fault. It might just be the entire team and the Pagulas. uh, it's I hope Jack Eichel could either get out of there or the Buffalo Sabres can fix themselves and actually have some success there. That's what I'm really hoping. Because no matter which way you look at it, if they were able to trade away Jack Eichel, they're never going to win this trade. They never are. There's never going to be an even trade for Jack
The
Eichel.
only the only
There's,
way they win the trade is if they hit the jackpot with one of those picks.
I think, yeah, unless they hit the jackpot or they get Alex Turcotte from LA
If they get Alex,
or Byfield.
or if they get Byfield, even then I don't think Turcotte's never going to be what Eichel
No,
is. No,
they're never going to be. They're never going to be the level that Jack Eichel
no.
brings, and that's why I would never trade away Jack Eichel.
But if it got
I would try to make this man happy, but if he's upset, then
no,
you gotta move
trade
on.
Jack Eichel for Mitch Marner. There's been a lot. It just doesn't make sense for Toronto. They just have Tavares and Matthews
It's
already.
another centerman.
Yeah,
It's another centerman. You guys, I was hearing Edmonton too. Like people were talking about Edmonton as well, maybe being kind of a target there. I wouldn't. I mean, I would love Jack Eichel, but that would just make it so heavy up top, and in the depth would just be nothing. It's like I wouldn't mind Jack Eichel, but it's definitely not going to be the greatest.
yeah. There's no way that Buffalo would retain 50% of Eichel's contract. You'd have to trade what you just said. Period. There's no retaining the salary. Nietzsche's, Jarvis, Trocheck's meh, helps out for now. But Nietzsche's and Jarvis, yeah, I love those guys. They're great. Yeah, they look like they're going to be fantastic.
Well, Carolina
This,
has the salary cap to swallow Eichel's contract in, so I don't know why you guys. I mean, 50% because you only have to pay him $5 million, but you could just swallow that contract in easily. You have $29 million coming into this offseason. You could easily
uh,
swallow it if you were to make a deal for Jack
they,
Eichel. Carolina could be another
I
team as
thought
well.
about them. They have an internal cap though. That's the thing, right? Because they don't have the thing.
Yes, and they do got to sign Savech and they got to get a defenseman already as well. So that'd be pretty hard. Buffalo would definitely say no to that,
No,
Lauren.
they're going to say no to the retained salary.
What
I think
once you bring in the fact that it's already 50% retained, they're hanging up the phone. They're like, "Hey, we're thinking Eichel 50% for." They're hanging up right after you say 50%. Adams is hanging up the
yeah,
phone
just
because
imagine if they did retain what they could get back. Whoo, man. That actually might
Oh,
not be a bad idea. Lessen your cap. If it wasn't Buffalo that already went through 10 years of hell, okay. If it was a team that was just like starting a rebuild, retain
hmm
50% because you're not going to need to hit the cap for the next 5 years anyways, and then see who's going to be out there and what you'll get for them. You could get first round picks for the next decade probably. Like it
yeah.
would be like crazy, but yeah, there's no way that they're going to retain. Uh, uh,
Kyle Okposo getting trade with Jack Eichel. That could be a
yeah,
possibility, but I mean that means more. I mean, actually, that would be less if they were to package Okposo. That would be less for the other team. But if you're picking up Eichel, most likely you're trying for a playoff spot and don't want to take in $16 million
yeah.
worth of players. That would be pretty hard to swallow. Only a few teams, even LA, wouldn't be able to do that if Okposo was part of the
Yeah,
deal. It would be
I
pretty
think
hard.
anybody that's trading them there doesn't want to take dead cap back. It's just no way. I can't see it. Anybody that was trying to trade him, yeah, doesn't want to take dead cap back. It would
No,
lessen what they would have to give up because you take
it would be.
no doubt about that. And I think Buffalo will just have to will live through that contract rather than taking less in this deal.
I mean, they only got 2 years left, so I mean, it's not that far away. Especially if you are trading away Jack Eichel, you're gonna need to get to the salary cap floor. You need to, and Okposo is gonna help you get to that roof, right? You need to get there, especially if you're trading away $10 million of Jack Eichel. Okposo wouldn't be a bad keep for
Yeah,
that team.
Pozo went to Buffalo because he's friends with them. That's the reason why they. That was part of the reason why they got
Oh yeah.
Pozo. Like him and Eichel have been friends for a really long time. And talk about bad contract. Whoo! New York Islanders certainly. But then that was funny when that deal happened. They didn't take. They let Pozo go for $6 million a year, and then went and gave it to Ladd. So one
Oh
that
Lord.
was bad.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, all right, Okposo, you're asking for too much money. Oh, hey, Andrew lad, how's it going,
We got
buddy?
this.
Here's the same
Yeah, we got
money.
this fresh $6 million. What are we gonna do with it? We give it to Ladd.
Yeah, basically the same player, but older and
Yeah,
crashed faster.
and injured. That was Garth Snow. That was
Yeah.
Garth Snow that did that.
Oh, Mr. Garsnow,
Did that, but
the legend.
yeah. So that would suck for Okposo because Okposo's stuck in Buffalo. Nobody's taking that contract, and now his friend Eichel's on his way out as well. So
Oh, one other team we haven't talked about is the Kraken with
yeah,
Eichel.
they'd have to give up first for days, right?
Yeah, they would have to give up first for days because they don't have a lot of prospects unless they were to, get a lot of players from the expansion draft, but I don't think any of the I don't think Buffalo really wants to take NHL ready players right now unless they are trying to go for the playoffs, but they're not ready yet. And yes, yeah, Reichel. Maybe what they could do if they were to add Okposo into the trade is retain a little bit of Okposo's salary cap. Would you take half retain Okposo and Eichel?
Uh, Even then, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me to take in Okposo for any reason because uh,
No.
it just doesn't make any sense. I guess if on his lower line, I mean, if you wanted to have a guy on the fourth line or whatever, yeah, it's possible they could retain it to have him move on. I guess I think and it sort of makes some sense because the Buffalo Sabres are really trying to get rid of all the memories. They're trying to get rid of all the memories. So all the players that have gone through all the losses, and I get it. It's a really good idea to do now. You got to get rid of all
hmm
the history of the last 10 years. You need to get some fresh players in that have a new focus, and all the old yamble is gone, or at least has gone as much as you possibly can. So in which case, Reinhardt, uh, Eichel, like anybody that's been there for really a long time is going to be traded away this summer
hmm
for sure.
Oh yeah. Seattle trades their
Except for
first for
Jeff
this year to
Skinner. Except
Buffalo.
for Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner is prison. Jeff Skinner gave himself a $9 million a year prison to live in.
Oh yeah. Dude, he's gonna be enjoying the off season, but once he starts stepping into that Buffalo Sabres uniform, it's gonna be hell.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if I don't see Seattle. I don't even see Buffalo doing this either, trading a first for this year to Buffalo for a first next year of Buffalo. I don't think they would be doing that because Buffalo's tanking next year as well. They, I could see Seattle might tank for right, but depends on what type of team they're going to be building to.
Seattle, I think Seattle's going to be in the. I really think. Now we had Seattle up here as a conversation. For the last 10 minutes, let's talk about kind of where Seattle likely will be going. I think I don't know if it'll be a tank, but they're not putting a team out there that's going to make the playoffs. I don't think. They could be. They could really surprise me here, but I just don't see I don't see Francis doing something like that in Seattle. I think the team that they're going to put
But
out there
see,
is going to be like in the close to the bottom of the league.
when I remember when Vegas came into the league, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Vegas is gonna tank for picks and this and that." And then they actually did do that. They got a lot of picks. They just bolster up on the picks, and that's all they did, and that's what they focused on. And then they won, and they kept on winning, and they just kept on winning. I don't know if we're going to see the exact same thing with Seattle because, yes, it is, defensemen really only. There's not a lot of offense compared to, what Vegas had, where they had Neil and they had some really good selections up in the front. But you never really know. And that's the thing with Seattle and these expansion teams, what we've seen from Vegas and what we possibly could see from Seattle, especially if they get Rick Tocchet as their coach there in Seattle, from what the rumors have been kind of rumbling around, they could possibly be a playoff team. And especially in this weak Pacific Division that they're going to be in, I I could see them making it in, especially if they make some strong moves at free agency and get some nice offense to be added to the team. I could without a doubt see Seattle being in the playoffs, especially with the division that they're going to have to deal with in the Pacific.
Um, I think it would be incidental. I don't think it's what they're really
Hmm.
necessarily going to be going for, but they
No,
could
no.
incidentally make the playoffs because it's such a weak division. But I think it'll be incidental if they do that. Uh, I'm putting a title here.
Oh, perfect.
I think wholly they're going to be using the leverage to pick up as many picks as they possibly can. It just makes
Hmm.
sense to me, and Ron Francis is that kind of guy to build that way. And that's really the big thing for me is that taking Ron Francis. I admit I didn't think Vegas was going to go the direction that they went to, but looking, hindsight is 2020. I should have maybe thought that they would be a little more like that because of the market that they're in, that they really would be difficult for them to be bad for a long for a period of time there.
Hmm.
But in Seattle, it's not necessarily like that. They've got strong financial backing. They've got probably have a better opportunity to get people interested in the first 2 years on a rebuild. However, they're not coming out and saying anything right now like that either, are they? They're
Um, no. I was just looking over at Graham McPhee's kind of old history of the Vegas Golden Knights and taking a look at all the trades. I also don't think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to get or the Seattle Kraken is going to get as lucky as what Vegas did, because you take a look at a lot of these trades, like the Vegas and Florida, where they picked up Riley Smith and expansion draft considerations to Florida and a fourth round pick, and they also got Marshall Salt that they picked from Florida. That set up their team. That set up the entire second line between Smith and Marchessault. Then you take a look at a little bit later on. The Islanders, they had some considerations being traded to them for a first round pick of Eric Branson, which ended up being Mark Stone. That Eric Branson pick went to Ottawa, and that ended up being Mark Stone for that team. Anaheim, more expansion draft considerations for Shea Theodore, who's now one of the best defensemen there for the Vegas Golden Knights. Alex Tuck they picked up from the Minnesota Wild for more draft considerations. Same with the Columbus Blue Jackets, another first round pick that ended up being Nick Suzuki's pick that traded for Max Pacioretty. Like the entire expansion draft went perfectly for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now the problem is, can it go perfectly for the Seattle Kraken? Are GMs smarter than what happened last time? People are saying that they're going to be smarter this time, but are they? There's a lot of new GMs that have never dealt with the expansion draft before, so we'll have to see how well they do. I think Seattle is not going to get as lucky as what Vegas did, because everyone was running through Vegas basically, right? Everyone was like, all right, yeah, we'll just do deals with Vegas. It's the easiest thing to do. But everyone was setting up Vegas for the future. And that's why Vegas is the top contender, because basically everyone handed them everything.
Eric Stahl going back to Minnesota this offseason?
No,
Probably not. Uh, Probably not.
probably not this year.
I don't think so. I don't know where he would go. Maybe Carolina could, use him as a fourth liner or something like that. He can go back with his brother. It'd be a good
Hmm.
story, something like that. But yeah, they got lucky in a sense, but they. I think honestly, what happened there was they threw off a lot of teams, because I think most teams thought that they were going to rebuild through the draft.
That as
They were
well.
going to build through the draft, and they made it seem like that, and then kind of messed up general managers, as like they kind of prepared for that, and then they started realizing, oh wait a second, they use their leverage as, no, we'll take this player or that player, we'll take the cap space off you. They went that way, like what they did with, for instance,
Yep.
Florida. Okay, Florida had a line on Dodonov, right?
Hmm.
And they were obviously kind of, I think they were sort of tunnel vision on Dodonov. And they were saying, you know what, we'll take some cap space off from you. And these are the guys we want. And what did they get? Riley Smith and Marchessault. Wow. And so Florida was thinking Dodonov was kind of like almost like Panarin-ish. Of course, he didn't turn out that
Yeah,
way.
not.
He didn't turn out that way, and they were going to have to pay him this
Hmm.
much. Marchessault had come off one good season, and Riley Smith was always an undervalued two-way guy, and they said, okay, you know what, to get a possible star like that, we'll sacrifice these two players. They just did really good at their scouting. I don't know if it was lucky or not. Like what they did with Columbus getting Carlson, that had to be luck. There was no way they thought that Carlson was going to be that good. Really?
I didn't know.
I had no idea.
I didn't know. I had no idea he was going to be that good. I mean, he was young. He had. I mean, he was playing like, what was it, like bottom tier minutes there with Columbus, 25 points in 81 games. He was the best pick from Columbus, and then 78 points out of nowhere. He didn't show any signs of actually being that type of player either. That was the thing. Like when he was in Columbus in the AHL in 15 games, he had no points, none. And in the 2 years in Columbus, he really didn't produce very much either. And I think that's going to be the thing. If Seattle gets maybe the new William Karlsson, then without a doubt, I could see Kraken making it in. And I think that was the biggest thing with Vegas, is like they noticed that their team's actually good midway through the season. They're like, all right, let's try. We got tons of picks. We could legit trade for anyone we want right now. Right? Weren't they in the talks with Erik Karlsson back in the day? Like when Erik Karlsson
Yeah,
was on the market, there was talks about Erik Karlsson coming to Vegas.
yeah.
I remember that. I remember they were picking up everyone. They wanted Mark Stone, and they get Pietrangelo this year. They came in with one thought of being a rebuilding team, and then they noticed that they're actually a good team, and they're like, let's go for it. Let's try. Let's try to win a cup right off the get go.
Yeah.
And it's worked out. The fans there are really supportive of the Knights, and I think them winning right off the get go made it even easier for the Knights as well.
I got to look back on it again, but I really think that they were trying to go for it right away, right from the get go. I do.
Maybe they
I
were.
do, because they picked a lot of players that were kind of surprising. Uh, and then, I think that was the whole plan to begin with. They were planning on picking up some picks, and they were going to be looking for guys to add to the lineup to get going. Because I just think that market demanded it. And that was really
Maybe
what it
maybe
was.
they were phasing. Maybe they were phasing everyone too, because I remember there was a lot of talk about Vegas just like, all right, yeah, we're gonna rebuild. We're gonna rebuild. Or not rebuild, but I guess just like draft really well. Draft really well. That was their biggest focus. I remember when they were coming into the league that they were gonna draft really well, just stock up on picks and just play it smart. But and then it was like a whole change of philosophy once they drafted their team and got the amount of picks that they did. It was insane the amount of picks that the Vegas Golden Knights had from all the teams. From first to fourth to fifth, just about everything that they had, they were bolstered up. Even nowadays, they still have tons of picks.
I think you're going to see
It's
that. I
insane.
think you're going to see Seattle even have more picks than even Vegas did, because I think they're going to be going hardcore on picks. Hardcore. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I really think that they're going to go hardcore on picks and try to build a dynasty there, and they just might do it. But that's our full 42, boys and girls. That's all we got today.
Hmm.
We'll see you on Monday, and we didn't even talk about the game on the weekend. The Islanders game.
Oh,
Get so into it. Oh, I love talking about this kind of stuff.
same.
Okay. We will see you Monday. I'll be on all the streams for, not all of them, but I'll try to get on streams for John's show. We'll remember to watch the Sports Desk programming. It's fantastic as well. And Peyton's channel
Hmm.
in general. Have a great day, everybody. Okay, bye.